You're driving on the interstate on your way to school, and the truck in front of you is crawling. You sigh, glance out the window, turn your blinker, and begin to move into the next lane. Suddenly, your car is struck and you are shoved back into your own lane. You glance out your window to see the car that you thought was far enough behind you is now spinning donuts in the middle of the road and then drives into a ditch. Have you just killed someone? This scenario actually happened to my best friend. She and the other driver ended up being all right, but my friend was ticketed for $200, had to pay for the cost of the damages for the other driver's car, and had to return to traffic school. Cars are something that we use every day. They are a vital part of our society, but they are also a deadly part. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA's website, over 30,000 people died from car-related accidents just in 2013. The comparison of cost-benefit has always fascinated me. For instance, you can buy slightly less expensive fast food now and pay for it later in bad health, or you can buy slightly more expensive food but healthier food now and receive better health. This type of comparison also works for cars and road safety. So, my goal here today is to examine the cost-benefit dichotomy of road safety, or how much are we willing to pay in exchange for, in both terms of money and freedom, in exchange for how much safety in road. And you're going to examine that in 3 different ways. The first is cost-reward for cars and roads, cost-reward for technology, and cost-reward for changing behavior. And through these 3 points, I hope to help us to examine road safety in a new way and try to figure out the best and try to give us some new insight on how we should address this problem. So my first point is cost-reward for cars and roads. How much safer can we make cars and roads while limiting the cost? First of all, we will be talking about cars. NHTSA believes rear visibility cameras will increase car safety. And according to NHTSA's website, on March 31st, 2014, their law requiring rear visibility technology in all cars by May 2018 was announced. They believe the cameras will decrease fire fatalities by about 60 lives per year, and this includes vehicles that already have installed technology. According to Federal Register in 2014 article, NHTSA does not expect the cost to be extravagant per car. For full installation, it will cost about $135 per vehicle, but for camera-only installation for cars that already have some sort of this technology set up, it will only cost about $45 per vehicle. So the expected cost is about $525 million, which is still a lot. We have to look at this in terms of weighing it against how many lives are saved. So next we'll be looking at cost reward for roads. Road damage is a huge cause of car accidents in the U.S. According to Roads and Bridges in August of 2009, more than half of U.S. highway fatalities are due to deficient roads, and the cost of road-related accidents is massive in both life and money. Road-related accidents cost the United States $200 billion each year. This number is more than isolated behavior-related accidents cost. For example, $130 billion is spent on alcohol-related accidents per year, and $100 billion is spent on speeding each year, and $60 billion is spent for not using a seatbelt each year. Roads and Bridges states, making the roadway environment more protective and forgiving is essential to reducing highway fatalities and costs. Public Roads' July-August 2013 issue features quite a few possible solutions for increasing the safety of roads. I will mention 2, diverging diamond interchanges and displaced left-turn intersections. The first one we will discuss is diverging diamond interchanges, or DDI. DDI will channel traffic on the crossroads to the left side between ramp terminals, which essentially is allowing left-turning vehicles to turn directly onto the on-ramp instead of having to wait. And the benefits of DDI is there will be shorter traffic signal cycles and thus fewer phases. And compared to conventional diamond interchange, with unbalanced traffic, DDI is better, but with balanced heavy traffic, DDI is actually worse. The results of the earliest project of DDI was injury crashes had an 80% reduction, and all crashes had a 50% reduction. So that seems good, but then we also have to look at the cost. The cost is rather expensive. For fixing current bridges, it will cost about $6 million, and for building new bridges, it will cost more than $10 million. So again, we have to try and examine, is this much money worth it for saving this many lives and stopping this many crashes? So my second change we can make is displaced left-turn intersections, or DLT. This displaces mainline left turns in advance of intersections. Essentially, it just moves them earlier. And the benefits of this is it eliminates the left turn signal phase and increases effective green time for all movements. Compared to the conventional diamond interchange, with low traffic volumes, DLT is better, and with high traffic volumes, DLT is even better. There are 32 conflict point reductions, which equals more safety. And the cost of the DLT is for grade separated interchanges, it's about $35 million, which is deemed prohibitively expensive, but again, we have to try and weigh, are we willing to pay this much for this much safety? So we can see with cars and roads, there are several different ways that we can try to address safety, but we just have to try and examine how much we are willing to pay for these man-made solutions. And man-made solutions tie into my next point, which is cost reward for technology. Spending more money on technology makes you how much safer? Money's June 2013 issue points out that there are some who believe advances in technology will aid in road safety. Two MDs from the West Virginia University School of Medicine hold such an opinion. They believe handheld devices should be monitored by car technology so that we aren't dependent on people obeying laws or making the safe decision. Money shows that one way to utilize technology is by offering safety devices when one buys a new car, which are available for an additional price. The first one is collision warning and mitigation system. There are more than 1 million rear-ending accidents per year, so this system hopes to try and lower that number. And how it works is it alerts you if you're about to crash into something with a warning of light or sound, and the brakes are then prepared for a quick stop and the cabin is prepared for impact. This system costs $1,500, but the study found that it was definitely worth it. The second system is a lane departure warning. Lane drifting causes 180,000 accidents per year. Now this system works is it alerts you if you're crossing a lane marker without signaling, with a warning of a light or sound. This system costs $500, but the study found that it's only worth it if you can find a system that isn't too sensitive. So we can see that using technology to make people safer is an option, but there are some who don't believe this is the best way. Consumer Reports' June 2013 issue shows the alternative side of those who believe laws are better than more technology. Brian Reimer, a research scientist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Age Lab, is one such person. According to Reimer, combating technology with technology is never going to work. If we can create a way of combating it here today in the U.S., someone in China tonight or tomorrow morning before I wake up will find a way around that. So Reimer believes that instead of trying to use technology to solve our problems, we need to try and change the behavior of people who are going to pick up phones no matter what. We need to try and find ways of showing them that's not the right thing to do. So one way we can address this is by making stricter technology laws. But in order to do this, we need to examine how well technology laws have already been working. The study from December 2012 by Consumer Reports found that full texting bans are effective, since 56% of respondents who live in states with a full texting ban said they reduced or stopped such behavior because of that law, or one banning handheld phone use. On the other hand, non-full texting bans are not as effective, since only 35% of people from states with no or minimal coverage from bans on texting while driving reduced or stopped their unsafe behavior. So it seems that only full laws are really very effective. But another problem with that is sometimes laws aren't even communicated effectively, as the study found that 25% of those surveyed didn't even know for sure if there was a ban on their handheld cell phones or texting in their state. In addition, we have to remember that people who are involved in crashes aren't generally going to be honest about whether or not they were using their cell phones. That does affect these numbers. But also, the study also addresses what has been the result of these technology laws. In some states, cell phone laws resulted in more insurance claims, which is something we need to watch because that will cause more cost. But 70% stopped or reduced texting, handheld phone use, or smartphone use while driving, and state laws influence more than half of that 70%. So we can see that there is much to be said for both technology and regulations, but we have to just try and decide which is best, and whether or not we should be trying to combat problems with our man-made things or with behavior. And behavior leads right into my third point, cost rewarded for changing behavior. How can we change behaviors that decrease road safety? So for instance, let's talk about drunk driving incidents. An article from U.S. News Digital Weekly on February 7, 2014 shows two different opinions. Some believe we should educate more. Generally, DUI attorneys claim that short of permanent incarceration, It is nearly impossible to stop people who habitually drink excessively from driving if they made up their minds to do so. So we need to try and figure out a way to make them not want to do this. Others believe that we should lower the blood alcohol content limit. The National Transportation Safety Board wants limits to be lowered even more than they already have been, as they believe it will result in decreased car accidents and thus lower fatalities. On the other hand, opponents claim there will be no benefit, since 92% of fatal accidents result when the driver's BAC is over 0.10, and only 3% of fatal accidents result when the driver's BAC was between 0.05 and 0.08. So is there really going to be much of a difference? That's another thing we have to try and balance. There's also the opinion that employers should regulate their employees' behavior. According to Business Insurance on July 7, 2014, Peter Van Dyne, who works as Technical Director of Risk Control Services at Liberty Mutual Insurance Company, recommends employers take initiative. So he thinks there are several policies employers should enforce, such as seatbelt use, speed limit, and the annual driver records review. He says this monitoring will lower costs. And the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMSCA's website, stated on March 21, 2014, that since the 1990s, FMSCA defines drug and alcohol rules for drivers. And in 1991, Congress passed the Omnibus Transportation Employee Testing Act, which essentially requires that the Department of Transportation agencies test safety-sensitive transportation employees with alcohol and drug testing. And there are also regulations that apply to drivers that need a commercial driver's license, such as who needs testing, when they need to be tested, and how to return violate safety-sensitive duties. So regulating behaviors is also another way that we can look at this, but we also have to weigh freedom and cost and whether or not this is actually going to be effective. As we go through life, we are faced with thousands of decisions every day. For many of these decisions, we have to weigh the cost of a certain decision against the benefit. If I go to bed now, I will be more rested, but I won't have as much time to study for my test tomorrow. Which is the best decision? When does the cost outweigh the benefit? The scale in which we weigh the costs and benefits of our decisions is something the government has been trying to balance in regards to road safety. And there are three ways in which they try to balance the issue: cost reward for cars and roads, cost reward for technology, and cost reward for changing behavior. When dealing with life or death matters, it is much harder to weigh the cost and rewards of an issue. In the case of road safety, some argue for more regulations, others for more technology, others for more repairs to roads, etc. The costs for some of these ideas are enormous. But when the reward for even as massive of a sum as $10 million is compared to the gain of even one human life, who are we to say the cost is too high? Just as you must weigh the balances of cheaper fast food versus better health, the choice of more money and less freedom in exchange for more road safety is also in your hands.